best friend always throws herself to the guys I like and put me down in front of my friends. But there's one boy she can't have, and it drove her insane. Back in high school, I had a best friend, and for the purpose of this story, I will call Jane. Jane and I had been best friends since we were in diapers. We lived in a small town, went to school together. Jane is also 1 year younger than I am. We had the typical friend fights, but nothing serious, mostly over toys and bands. Fast forward, I was grade 8, Jane was in grade 7. A new kid started at our school, I'll call him Todd. Todd was in my grade, and we became friends. He would hang out with me and Jane at recess, which is the only time I saw her in school. After school, we would hang out at her place or mine. A few months after Todd moved to our town, Jane invited him to hang out one day after school too. I didn't care. We were all friends. It wasn't until around Easter that year that I noticed Jane and Todd hanging out more without me. At first, I wasn't bothered by it. I figured maybe they liked each other, which was fine. And it turns out they did. They started dating. I only started to have a problem with it after Jane revealed to me that her and Todd had sex. The news hit me hard, and I immediately went into protective mode. I grilled her, being the stupid kid that I was, and urged her to tell me if Todd had pressured her. She was only 13 after all. She swore he hadn't, that it had been her idea. Our friendship became strained as they'd disappear into her bedroom whenever Todd visited. When I tried discussing it, she'd accuse me of jealousy and mock me for being a virgin. Eventually, Todd broke up with Jane. When I started high school, Jane remained in public school, constantly asking about high school boys. Once Jane joined me in high school, her behavior worsened. I brought her into my friend group to help her adjust, but she'd put me down in front of everyone, asking my guy friends vulgar questions like which of us they'd rather sleep with. After my boyfriend of a few months broke up with me, they immediately started dating. This pattern continued for years. I couldn't tell Jane who I liked or she'd sleep with them. I couldn't date someone or she'd pursue them too. Once they were with her, they'd stop talking to me or become outright rude. There was one guy she couldn't have though, Cole. My sister had moved to another province and met her husband Max, whose best friend was Cole. Cole added me on MSN and we became long distance friends. We shared everything. Bad days, funny stories, school drama. Over a year, Cole became one of the most important people in my life, which drove Jane crazy. She constantly demanded his contact information, but I refused, not wanting to lose another friend to her schemes. Eventually, Jane stopped asking, and I thought the issue was resolved. I was completely wrong. One day I woke up to a confusing message from Cole. Similar incidents continued until he stopped talking to me altogether. I was devastated. About 6 months later, we reconnected, but our friendship developed a strange pattern. Things would be great, then he'd suddenly go off on me and stop communicating again. This cycle repeated for years. One night, 6 years after all this began, Jane was at my apartment having drinks. I had more than intended and went to bed early. The next day, Cole texted asking why I'd given his number to Jane, with screenshots as evidence. When confronted, Jane admitted taking his number from my phone while I was sleeping. I ended our friendship immediately. Cole made it clear to Jane he had no interest in talking to her. Over the next 15 years, Cole and I continued talking through life's ups and downs. Last year, I flew down to visit my sister Max and their kids. Now I live there with Cole. 2 days ago, we had a stupid fight. During the argument, Cole referenced a conversation we supposedly had years ago. I was confused because we never had that conversation. He said, "Oh, maybe it was when you were staying at Jane's place then, but we definitely had that conversation." Something clicked. I watched his expression as I went from angry to confused to shocked in seconds. I asked about the times he'd stopped talking to me, and everything aligned with periods when Jane was around. It turned out Jane had been impersonating me on my MSN, my Skype, my Facebook, and sometimes my cell phone for years. Cole recalled sexual conversations that never happened between us. The relief of finally having answers was indescribable. After years of misunderstandings and hurt, we could finally put the confusion and past anger to bed, to let it go. If you've made it this far, you're probably wondering what happened with Jane. Well, petty as we are, I decided to look her up on social media and sent her a message telling her we finally figured out what she'd been doing all those years. And despite her trying to keep us apart for years, we are together and very much in love. Sending the picture of my engagement ring was a nice touch as well. The best revenge is me and Cole, the love of my life, living that life to its fullest, together. Small edit for info. I never did figure it out because Jane would delete the portion of the conversation she had with Cole. There were many times I asked him why he was so angry for no reason, but we were young, and as he explained, some of the thing I said, he didn't want to repeat. He thought I was the one playing dumb, messing with him, and I was just confused about everything.